I can hear you as well. That's great. Just a brief, well, first off, just wanted to welcome Cody Daffer to the P&Z Commission. We confirmed him on December the 5th. So actually, looks like he might be sitting close to where I sit. So welcome, Cody. Appreciate your involvement and willingness to serve on this commission. Also on December 5th, we only had 3 public hearing items. Really pretty straightforward. If there's a golfer in the group there, you'll be a little bit saddened to know that there are some rate increases for the golf at Centennial and Ridgecrest. But one thing I thought I would skip back to, since it's related to planning and zoning, from the November 21st hearing, we had a reconsideration request of a planning and zoning approval. And this was for a property that was on Greenhurst Road, I'm sorry, let me go back. It was an appeal of a decision by the Planning and Zoning Commission for a conditional use permit for a home occupation. It was an automobile and truck repair business. I don't know if you remember it. It's on Power Line, immediately east of Skyview High School. What we found, council approved the appeal simply because it was determined that the young man that wanted to run a home business off of that property did not live on the property. His parents did. They had no involvement or ownership of his business. It wasn't being used at all for any agricultural use. So it was really not considered a home business. And as such, council denied that. It approved the appeal by Mrs. Wilkinson. So I thought I'd share that with you in case it comes back up at any point. But other than that, last two city council meetings were pretty straightforward, but I'll answer any questions you might have if you have any for me.
Any questions for Randy? Doesn't appear to be any.
Well, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you guys. Enjoy your evening.
Merry Christmas.
Same to you.
Thanks, you too, Randy.
Bye.
Staff communications. Do we have anything, Rodney? You have nothing to tell us. Okay, we have the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I have a question on it.
Okay,
Okay,
Sorry.
go for it.
This is a second-year extension on this, and we've had a few of these where they extend beyond a year. Is this only because of his comment about he wanted, I guess, why does he want it to be in 2023 instead of 2022?
Madam Chair, we need to have a motion to remove this from the consent agenda to have a discussion.
okay. You want to make that motion?
Sure. Motion to remove the item from the consent agenda. What is it?
Item number
Final
2.
plat for Spring Hollow Ranch number 2.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to remove Spring Hollow Ranch extension from the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So now we get approve the consent agenda and then go to that?
You could do that, yes.
Okay. All right, we need a new motion for the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda is approved. So now that goes into business items. So we have the second one-year extension for final plat for Spring Hollow Ranch. You had a question?
Yeah, I asked the question, do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes, I do. Commissioner Kehoe. So it's all improvements associated with Phase 2, it says, have been completed. Sometimes when you have large developers like this, they have a certain amount of inventory that they can have in a year for financial purposes.
Okay.
So it could just be that he's waiting until the year 2023 to
That
add
makes
that
sense.
lot inventory to his books.
Okay, makes sense.
He didn't write that in here, but.
Yeah, well, and I couldn't figure out why it would make any difference, but that makes good sense.
Yeah, I think that's probably the reason. I've
Okay.
seen him do that before.
I'm satisfied, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to make a motion? Since you took it off, the consent, you don't.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the second one-year extension for final plat of Spring Hollow Ranch Number 2, including 75 buildable lots and 8 common lots on 13.95 acres for Sean Brownlee representing Trilogy Development.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded to approve the second one-year extension for Spring Hollow Ranch. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's that time of year again. We have elections, and we need nominations for chair.
Madam Chair, I would nominate Ron Van Ocker as chair.
I'll second that.
Does Ron agree with that?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Do we have any other nominations?
I was happy with the way things were, but
I'd like to nominate Tom for vice chair.
I'm same with Ron.
Vice chair.
Shouldn't have shown up tonight, should we?
Hey.
I was gonna nominate Peggy and Jeff just to stay in those positions, but. Now what do you wanna do?
You can
Madam
do it.
Chair, I think we have to do the chair first and vote, and then do the vice, I think is how we do it.
Yes, yes, that's correct.
What'd you say, Jeff?
I was just checking to see if my sound is.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, all those in favor of Ron as chair?
Aye.
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 Sure. Do I get a vote? Okay.
All right, Ron is the new chair.
No.
No, it turned out.
Okay, vice chair. Do we have nominations?
Make a motion for Tom, vice chair.
You,
No, you don't get a vote.
And
I'll
Madam
second.
Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure this is clear that this would start in January.
January.
Okay.
yes.
I'll second.
Was there a second for Tom?
Yeah, I'll second for Tom.
And are you okay with that, Tom? Okay,
As long as Ron's here for every meeting.
You have reviewed the financial agreement, right?
okay. Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, all those in favor of Tom for vice chair?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. All right, you guys, January, you guys start. Take over the world.
Yay.
That means you
Okay.
get to move down here by me, Peggy.
What was that?
Hey.
That means you get to move down here by me.
That's right, now I'm gonna sit over there. Okay, first public hearing, plat for Sunnyvale East subdivision. Do we have the applicant here? Oh, it's not 6 o'clock yet. I'm sorry, we gotta wait 4 minutes or else we get in trouble. Cannot start early.
What just happened?
You became president?
Usually that happens when you don't show up.
I know.
That's why I showed up tonight. Interviewed.
Drew was elected Drew. He's not here.
He's online.
I haven't heard it.
What was that, Tom?
Told you he was
He
online.
is listening.
We're all here, present and accounted for, in one way or another.
Line in your pocket.
Can't violate finance, campaign finance laws.
Skinner.
They're gonna get them for
3 minutes.
violating campaign.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
seems suspicious.
That crypto guy?
Hey, Madam Chair, I got a quick question.
Okay,
Is there anyone in the audience? Can't
yes,
see from this.
yep,
Is it filled?
Applicants.
Totally.
applicants.
There's people standing in the,
Standing room only?
Standing room only.
Rodney's selling tickets out front.
Way to go, Rodney. Always looking for another revenue stream.
Got to pay for Christmas somehow.
Wow, you got a huge crowd there.
Yeah.
Thanks for the view.
What the heck is that? Is that new?
Okay, it's 6 o'clock now. All right, now you can come up. We got to follow the rules or they get us.
Yeah, I get it. All right, my name's Austin Edwards, and I'm representing MMNT Holdings and Hubble Homes for our Sunnyvale East preliminary plat application. Address is 701 South Allen Street, suite number 104, Meridian, Idaho 83642. What we're bringing to the table today is just a preliminary plat application. We're not changing any of the zoning or any of the existing land use for this project. Essentially, all we're proposing to do is split out lots to lot out a lot of these multifamily buildings that we're looking to develop in this RMH zone. So the preliminary plat conforms to RMH requirements for lot sizes, setbacks, et cetera. And it also adheres to the provisions set forth in the existing development agreement that exists on these parcels. Oops. So the area in yellow depicted on the screen is what we're looking to preliminary plat right now. The rest of the red area is Sunnyvale West and our existing Sunnyvale subdivision, most of which are already built out, as can be seen on this screen. So all the white parcels are actually already recorded and built parcels, most of which already have homes on them. On the western side, on Sunnyvale West, we have one phase remaining, and we have one single-family phase remaining on the Sunnyvale subdivision portion. And then on the far right side in the white is our existing fourplex communities that are already platted and probably half to two-thirds of the way built out. So what this is going to do is propose one more section of fourplex lots, some apartments, and then an assisted living facility on the north end, all of which conform to the existing zoning for RMH and also conform to the existing development agreement. It's kind of a zoomed in area showing the 26.7 acres that we're looking to apply for the preliminary plat application. As it stands right now, there's 4 existing lots. One is for that retirement home community, and the other 3 are for multifamily. 2 are going to be consolidated to more of that apartment complex parcel. It's going to be, what do we have? Oops. 9 apartment lots and 1 clubhouse lot. And then we'll have 22 fourplex lots, and then that 1 lot for the assisted living. So that's basically what we're looking to consolidate these into is just break it down to those lots. Again, there's no change for land use or zoning designation. This picture on the right kind of shows you what we're looking to do for lots. The reason we want to lot it out is it just makes a lot of things easier for us as far as selling it out to individual owners, financing, et cetera. There's a whole lot of reasons to lot it out. But as far as the structures that we're proposing, those are essentially the same as we would propose in the current zoning. So that's really the only change that we're proposing. Here's some renderings of what we would be constructing. The fourplexes are a stacked flat product. It's what already exists to the south of what we're plotting right here. The apartments are going to be your garden-style walk-up, 3-story, 24-plexes. And then the assisted living still has yet to be brought to the table as another application. This is oriented north to the right. The proposed preliminary plat complies with the City of Nampa code, including minimum lot areas, lot width and depth, landscaping and amenities, and density. It also complies with the approved development agreement. So that's really it in a nutshell. Again, all we're really proposing to do is break out more lots on this already platted preliminary plat, so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll hear from staff.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. The request before you this evening is for approval or denial of the Sunnyvale East preliminary plat at 0 West Karcher Road. This project is part of a larger development that already has multiple phases recorded and constructed. As stated, there is a development agreement that was recorded on May 23rd of 2014 that includes a concept plan for the entire development. The area that is subject to this preliminary plat is identified on the concept plan in large areas. There's 3 or 4 parcels there that just say multifamily development. Therefore, the preliminary plat layout conforms to the approved development agreement in place on this property currently. The future assisted living proposes approximately 80 dwelling units, but does not show a layout for the space at this time, which is fine. All structures proposed in the RMH zone will require design review approval. So I don't know if you read through the engineering memo or not. There are some triggered impacts and mitigation measures that are required at Middleton Road and Karcher Road, Cascia Avenue and Flamingo Avenue, Karcher Road and Northolt Road Avenue, excuse me. There are some other intersections that will be impacted but are not the responsibility of this project, which is Middleton Road and Flamingo Avenue, Middleton Road and Karcher Road. And then there are some areas that were identified in the TIS that are part of our capital improvement plan, which is on Middleton Road, Midland Road, and Karcher Road. If you want me to go into those any further, I can certainly do that. As far as the plat is concerned, there are 216 apartment units. There are 88 fourplex units with a total of 304. The parking spaces that are required would be 608. The total provided is 627 plus 36 ADA spaces. Again, the layout for the assisted living units has not been shown yet. If there's 80, then we will do that according to the formula that's in place at that time. As far as the minimum lot areas go, for fourplexes, the minimum lot area in an RMH zone is 7,000 square feet. Their minimum lot area that they're proposing is 9,089 square feet. For the apartment buildings, for the 24-unit apartment buildings, it's 17,000 square feet. They are proposing the smallest lot to be 32,506 square feet, so it is deemed compliant. They do meet the lot width and depth requirements. The landscape plan, the forester has reviewed it and just requests that they get a different species of tree because the ash tree has a borer problem. And then for amenities, there is a clubhouse, a community pool proposed, and they are proposing 16.57% open space, excuse me. The Valley View School District has stated that there is a school capacity concern in that area. The forester, again, has requested an alternate species for the ash tree. Parks requests an easement and construction along the Elijah Pathway. The police request a commitment from City Council to fund 1.5 officers and 0.51 support staff. And then engineering has requirements for access, utilities, drainage, and conditions of approval. These are the conditions of approval based on those comments. And these are your motions. I will stand for any questions.
Christie, as to the Valley View letter that we got from them, what happens if the citizens keep turning down bonds and we keep putting more apartments in there? I mean, what happens? I mean, does somebody go to court and say something, or do we force a school to do something they can't afford, or what happens at this point?
That's a great question, Commissioner Kehoe. I don't know. That's a state,
asking you for.
it's a state level decision.
Well, they are working on that, I understand, from what I've been reading in the paper, but what if the state says, again, no? I mean, what happens?
I
You just
don't,
get to a point where
I
their
don't know.
classrooms are horribly overcrowded. Instead of having 25 kids in a class, they'll have 40. And then parents will start to complain and they'll realize that they have to do something about it.
Unfortunately, it's reactionary.
Yeah, but, so that's not, it could be grounds for refusal to allow this application, but it's not necessarily something we'd want to do.
Well, not just based on that. There'd have to be some really good other reasons for
Right.
denying this project. You
Okay.
can't just base it on the school district comments.
All right. I just want to make sure we're on the right pathway here.
I mean, the levies, the last two levies have been within a few hundred votes of passing. It's like people need to get out and vote.
Well, and the school district just needs to do a little bit better job of explaining it.
Well, and that's something, because Lakeview, or Valley View rather, used to be real, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. How many we passed when they just said nothing? Now
Right.
finally they're saying something, and I'm glad to see them doing that. Thank you.
Christie, I may have missed this, but in your report, you said that the police department requests city council approval for so many officers, right? So does that happen by approval process? Is that how that works, or they just recommend that?
They recommend a commitment to fund. So we have a basis in our capital improvement plan that says so many officers per capita, right? So they have to adjust their budget accordingly. We have open positions in the police department currently that would probably bring us up to the number that we should be at. I don't know those numbers right off the top of my head. That would be a bigger discussion with our financial people. So it isn't a matter of us being underfunded or under budget. It's a matter of us trying to find people to fill those positions.
Yeah, I didn't know, I just didn't know if, because of that language, if that was part of the approval process, that by approving it, city council would say, oh, we agree to this. That's all I was asking, so.
Yep, that's how they
Thanks.
determine the budget for the next year.
Sure.
I had a question about the schools as well. The past few applications have had a letter from the school district about like a contribution that they've agreed to with the developer on, to help the funding gap for, extra capacity. I didn't see one in this application unless I missed it, but did they change gears on that? Are they not doing that anymore, or?
That would be a question for the developer.
Or the school district?
They need to have those
districts.
conversations separately from us.
Got it. I was just wondering if you guys knew of any change in.
And just a reminder from our city attorney, that approach is not considered legal for the city to consider as part of an approval.
Right.
So we need to be careful about how we talk about that, even with the developer.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
If the-
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, we'll go to public hearing. Do we have anyone signed up? Daniel? Parker? Somebody?
You pay them all these big bucks and they can't get the job done.
Okay. Is there anybody present that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this? Does anybody want to ask the developer any questions? Okay. I would entertain a motion for closing public. hearing.
Actually, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Before we close public hearing, I do have a quick question because this came up in a previous hearing about the shared ownership and maintenance. When they went to auditing all of
You're breaking up, Jeff. We're having a really hard time hearing you.
Okay, never mind, go ahead.
If I can assume what your question is regarding the shared access and all of those things, for a building permit to be approved, they would need to provide us with that shared access agreement, because typically what happens in these situations is they put all of the handicap parking into that shared space so that they can do it based on unit and not on parcel. And if you want me to explain that, I can. But when they spread it out over the whole thing, then the building department does require that they provide a shared access agreement at the time of building permit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Daniel, I have 2 through 6. Number 1 was just nothing on there. Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
All right,
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the subdivision preliminary plat for Sunnyvale East subdivision in an RMH zoning, address at 0 Karcher Road for Patrick Connor representing MM&T Holdings LLC with all conditions, and to adopt the findings listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the preliminary plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
all right.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, action item number 2, annexation and zoning to IL zoning district for 0 Ustick Road. Do we have the applicant here?
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Stephanie Hopkins with KM Engineering, 5725 North Discovery Way in Boise. Thank you for having us here this evening. I'm here to discuss the North Midland Industrial Park project. I'm here on behalf of our client, River Range, Idaho. We're asking for your favorable recommendation on an annexation and zoning of approximately 35.86 acres of land depicted on this map here into the IL zoning designation, which is a light industrial designation. So this is the location, comprised of 4 parcels of ground, and as I mentioned, approximately 35.86 acres. It's located east of Midland Boulevard, halfway between Ustick and Linden Road. Currently, it's zoned M1 in Cannon County, which is a similar designation. It's light industrial in Cannon County. And we're requesting to join the city with a similar zoning designation to accommodate future industrial development. Approximately 60 acres of ground was annexed and zoned, I think earlier this year, is in July, to the IL district. It's depicted in kind of that weird Florida-shaped property. In the staff report, it was mentioned that this is a phase of that project, and it's actually not. It's different projects. So just as a point of clarification, this is North Midland Industrial Park, and the other one I think was Midland Commerce Center. So they're 2 different projects. The comprehensive plan does designate this property within the industrial land use. So the zoning designation we're asking for is in compliance with that and supports several comprehensive plan goals and intents, specifically by preserving industrial land to allow for future industrial development. And as I mentioned, we're requesting the IL zoning district and would propose to comply with whatever the code requirements are there as far as setbacks and uses. And we'll look to staff for direction as we come in with future uses and projects. So we're in agreement with the staff report and the recommended conditions of approval. I do have members of the development team available in person and online if you have questions that I can't answer. So with that, I will stand for any questions. Thank you.
Doesn't look like we have any questions at this time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, hear from staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The action requested is an annexation and zoning to IL. The applicant covered most of this, so I won't go into too much detail. Surrounded by county, to the south is IL. The utilities in the area, there's a project currently underway, bringing utilities down U-Stick to the Noble Drain, this project would eventually utilize once those are completed through the southerly boundary of this development. The staff findings in this case, the property is contiguous along the south side of the property. The IL zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The area consists of county ag uses and industrial zone properties. The development would be in addition to the previously approved Midland Industrial Project to the south. It wouldn't be a connection to it, a different phase, but it would be a continuation of industrial use to the north. Nampa recently annexed in the 60 acres to the south, so that parcel is 60 acres. The rest of the findings are in the staff report. Staff doesn't have any concerns about the proposed zoning. The proposed allowed uses, there isn't any proposed uses, but allowed uses are in the Chapter 3, warehousing, wholesale are one thing to highlight as permitted, with the condition that outdoor storage is screened from view. That's a primary concern that people have. The project would require a traffic impact study. That's really the main thing to highlight from the comments. That's really, so this is the development to the south. This was the proposal that they brought forth when they were annexed. The yellow line there is the access road going through their parcel, and it's stubbed to the north property line. Canyon County, the Canyon Highway District number 4, one of their comments was that they would like to limit as many accesses off of Midland as possible. So that will be considered when development does occur. Conditions of approval are in the staff report. Potential motion is there for you. And I will stand for any questions.
Any questions for Parker? Okay, we'll go to public hearing. I have Louis Spiker, who is part of the applicant's team on there. Did you wish to speak? Only if there were questions that I could answer. Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this? Okay, we do have somebody online.
This is Bob Sumter. I'm just here for, I represent the developer. I'm just here for questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, nobody else? Do you have any questions for the applicant?
I guess I'd just ask if there's a layout, so if you want to come up and. You guys have a conceptual plan for how the buildings are oriented, how many square feet, that kind of stuff?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Van Acker, we don't have anything set in stone right now. Our client's been talking with the city of Fairmount about what they want to do as far as access points, and so our team will work with our client once we kind of have more direction there.
Okay.
But they don't have formal users or anyone in mind at this point, so it's pretty conceptual.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Madam Chair, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, quick question for staff, and it's just more of a question about the land there. That's kind of an odd shaped parcel of land. The question is, more out of curiosity, has that always been, even before annexation, was that always in the Nampa area of impact? Because it's right there with Caldwell too. And how long? I wonder how long it's been.
This one, was originally back when the negotiations between Nampa and Caldwell happened. This was in Caldwell's impact area. A number of years ago, it was because one owner had the entire thing. It was a portion that was negotiated, and we did a swap for another piece down near the boulevard or something, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Thank you.
What do you guys think?
I think the more industrial land we can entitle, the better, but I'm biased.
I agree with Commissioner Van Acker, though.
I mean, that's the area where all the action's happening and, or most, the majority of it. It's good access to the freeway. It's out there in the, used to be the middle of nowhere, but now everything's developing around it. I think preserving that corridor for as much industrial as possible, because the 200 acres immediately around it is not, it sounds like a lot of land, but it's really not a lot of land when buildings consume 20, 30 acres apiece. So I am 100% for it.
And I am not the least bit, what would be the word, involved in any kind of a monetary agreement with this applicant or anybody else, but I fully agree with the application itself.
For the record, neither am I.
Yeah, I feel like we all have to say that. Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve, or that we recommend approval of the annexation and zoning to IL, Light Industrial Zoning District, for 4 parcels totaling 35.86 acres at 0 Ustick Road for River Range Idaho LLC, representing Dana Devlin and Hilda Devlin, with all findings and conditions listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to recommend approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that one's going on to council. All right, thank you. All right, action item number 3, annexation and zoning to RS6 for 7.84 acres as addressed at 0 East Railroad Street. And Christy, this is all you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. The request before you this evening is for recommendation of approval of annexation for 0 East Railroad Street. There are 3 parcels involved here. So as stated in the narrative, upon annexation of the property to the north and the rezoning and development of the property to the south of these parcels, there is potential that this parcel will become an enclave. Because the subject property is in the floodway, it will likely not be developed aside from a pathway, landscaping, and open space for those 2 developments on each side. For consistency of plan review and pathway construction, it's best that the areas intended to be included in the overall design of the Reflections Edge subdivision and the Chisholm Estates subdivision, that it be under the City of Nampa's jurisdiction. So the potential findings of approval in this case are that the property is contiguous with the city limits on the north and the south sides where it adjoins residentially zoned properties. The proposed RS6 zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan of residential mixed use, so it would not create a spot zone. The land is considered to be undevelopable as it is within the FEMA reported floodway. This land is to be included in the already approved development plans for the Reflections Edge subdivision and will need to be under city jurisdiction to review the construction drawings for a pathway in this area. Therefore, it can be reasonably assumed to be available for orderly development of the city, and with the pathway construction would be considered to be in the interest of the public. There is city water, irrigation, and emergency services available to this area of the city. So engineering comments, they do not oppose this request, and they have listed their conditions of approval in their memo. These are those conditions of approval, and these are the motions. I will stand for any questions.
Any questions?
Christy, I got a question.
Okay.
Would this be more like a park then for the city, or would that be kind of the use with the pathway going through it?
Yep, it's going to be developed as open space. There will be bridges that cross back and forth across Indian Creek and a pathway that goes back and forth between Chisholm and Reflections Edge. Privately owned.
What would be privately owned?
That common area, that open space for Reflections
But it would be
Edge.
but it would be under the jurisdiction of the city, though.
That's correct.
Privately maintained, though, also.
Yeah, well, so privately retained, the owners of Reflections Edge subdivision will own it as their common area. But we need to have it inside the city, so when they issue those construction drawings, we have jurisdiction to review them.
And
Okay, so-
KB Homes will maintain it too, right?
Homeowners Association.
Whoever, yeah.
Yeah, that was my question, is the maintenance, law, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, good, thank you, I understand that now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Christie? Go to public hearing. I have nobody signed up. Is there anybody that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this proposal?
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Public hearing is closed.
Madam Chair, I move that we recommend approval of annexation and zoning to RS6 zoning district on 3 parcels at 0 East Railroad Street for KB Homes Idaho LLC, owner requested by the city of Nampa, with recommended conditions of approval to adopt the potential findings listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That one is approved. All right, public hearing item number 4, conditional use permit for a home occupation, online sales, firearm business. Do we have the applicant here? Come on up. Give us your name and address for the record and tell us what you want to do.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is William Swoboda. I'm at 18289 North Flocks Way, and we've relocated here from Texas. We have an online business that sells sporting goods, and we just wanted to move it here,
Okay, and you're selling firearms?
online, yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the applicant at this point?
I do.
Okay.
One of the letters that we received, in fact, I think it's the only letter we received, the man was making a objection to trucks going through your neighborhood.
Yeah.
But if it's online, will you have trucks delivering to your house?
No. I mean, we have FedEx and
Yeah.
UPS and Amazon.
Same as everybody
and
else has.
everybody else going through
Yeah.
there. But no, we don't have any inventory. We don't keep anything at the house.
Okay, so their concern is unfounded, more or less.
No.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
And I understand it, but it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, all right. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll hear from staff, and if we have any more questions, we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, Rodney Ashby for the record. As you can see, this is a conditional use permit for online sales firearms business in the RS7 zone. I'm going to kind of skip over most of this. It's a subdivision. It's an RS7 zone. Here are the applicable regulations for home occupations. Again, these are intended to make it so that it feels like a neighborhood, that it's not, doesn't look like a business, doesn't operate like a business where we have lots of truck traffic. No significant signs on the property, no nuisances. And I'll get into the analysis in just a second here. And these are the 3 criteria as a conditional use permit that you will need to look to for approval of this project. So you'll have to find that these 3 criteria are met. Pretty standard CUP that you've seen before, or at least most of you. So this one we'll kind of refer back to in the motion. The correspondence we received, only Nampa Building Department requested Title IV compliance. I don't anticipate any changes to the building or anything, but if there were for an office setting of some kind, they would need to comply with that regardless. And then the comment that was referenced already was from Mike Hill at 8852 East Lavender, and opposed for traffic and noise. So analysis, home occupation is identified in the comp plan, we want to encourage this kind of this kind of land use for businesses starting out or operating at a small scale. So regarding the home occupation requirements, I find no evidence of a sign on the property. The site plan submitted shows one room being used as an office, doesn't take up 25% of the home's area. The applicant has indicated there will be no storage of goods, equipment, or materials at the property. All business equipment incidental to an office environment is anticipated to be inside the home. No commercial vehicles are anticipated to be used. Staff believes that the business will have no employees. The applicant has indicated there will be no need for deliveries. No changes are proposed to the outside of the home, so no storage will take place outside. No nuisance is anticipated. It's just an indoor office. And the last one is not applicable. It's essentially yard sales. I think we can skip most of this. We've already addressed most of that. Here are the conditions of approval and the potential findings. Essentially, these are all in your packet, but essentially it comes down to that it complies with all the home occupation standards, but it also doesn't have any negative impact on the neighborhood. So that's kind of reflected in each of these criteria, all three of the criteria for a conditional use permit. And here's a couple of motions for your consideration. I stand for any questions.
Okay, we'll go to public hearing. I have nobody signed up. Is there anybody present that would like to speak for, against, or undecided? Is there anybody online?
Make a motion, we close public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for a home occupation online sales firearm business in an RS7 zoning district at 18289 North Phlox Way for William Swoboda, with all recommended conditions and all the findings I agree with.
Hey, can I jump in here real quick for the vote? I think I would vote to approve this as well, based on everything going on. But I think that if conditions changed where he does start storing inventory and stuff like that, I think I might want to think about it some more. Can we put that in as a condition? Does anybody feel like that's appropriate, or? That makes sense what I'm saying.
I think it does. I think that the staff report and the owner himself, or the applicant himself, said that he's not going to do any of that, so, I mean,
So
I suppose
if
you
he
could put
does-
it in there as just a possible condition, but
And if the conditions changed, then it could be reviewed again.
Well, sorry, but to be fair, we've had numerous of these come up, but have we assigned that same condition to those?
I know.
No.
So, but I guess there's nothing worse, if we approve this CUP, can he do any kind of firearm business out of this home, or is it only the kind that we look at today?
We're approving online firearm sales.
Okay. If that's the case, then I'm good.
Madam Chair, I can put that in the conditional use permit language that it's only for the online firearm sales. It sounds like that.
Yeah, but I think that what Drew is saying is that, what if this individual decides that he is going to store some inventory now, that would be in violation, but is there a way that we can guard against that by putting language in?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I think you could put a condition on this that there is no storage of materials at the home for this conditional use permit. If he has storage at the home that's apparent, you could even say if he has truck delivery, that, that he would then have to come in for a new CUP because he would not be compliant with the conditional use permit that you issued. So that could be a condition that you place on this.
But again, I think I go back to all the ones that we've approved, and we haven't done any of those, for any of those that we've already approved.
I tend to agree. I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna-
CUP is pretty clear and cut. If you change the conditions, it comes back to us because it's no longer the same as what it was.
And obviously, this gentleman would like to be in compliance, that's why
Yeah.
he's here.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be here if we wouldn't want to be.
Hey,
Drew,
Rodney, I got,
Drew, I just had a question, this Ron. What's your concern with this application versus, others that we've talked about in the past?
Well, maybe we should have put more conditions on others in the past. I guess, well, what I'm saying is that, I mean, this application right now is a slam dunk. It's obviously that it's a good project, and I want him to be able to do this, and I'm not saying he's gonna start going out there and say, "Yay, I got the approval to sell whatever I want out of my house now," but can he? What would stop him from doing that with how it is now? Just the
Neighbors
are
complain.
we?
It would be in violation of the conditional use permit that we approve.
Only if we put, Madam Chair, only if we put specific conditions that are beyond the typical CUP and home occupation. So if you only approved a home occupation CUP for firearm sales, then if he met all the criteria, all those nine conditions for a home occupation, he could operate. So he could have infrequent deliveries, he could have a 2x2 sign, he could have
Safe.
firearm sales in the home, he could have storage of some things in the home, unless you put that condition on that he can't. But his proposal is that he doesn't.
But then even then, what it would take is a neighbor complaining about serious increased traffic to the neighbor's home and people
Correct.
walking in and out of the front door with firearms and.
But the CUP specifically states it's online sales firearms. So even if he had inventory and it was coming in and he was shipping it back out, it's online sales. If he starts doing in-house sales, he's gone beyond what the CUP is allowing him to do. So if he ends up down the road having inventory in the house, I don't see any issue with it. He's got to follow FFL guidelines and laws anyway, so he's pretty well restricted on what he can do. So I don't have any problem.
You're right,
with
Tom.
approving
You're
it.
right, Tom. It does say that online sales on the CUP. So, and I'm not saying I would even vote against it, even in the other case. It would just, I think you'd want to consider it more. So I'm good to vote for the motion.
The motion still stands.
Second still stands.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the conditional use permit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, conditional use permits approved by Planning and Zoning Commission will become effective 15 calendar days from the date of this hearing unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken by the applicant on the CUP until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with Planning and Zoning staff that there have been no appeals. Okay, thank you. Okay, another conditional use permit for alcohol sales establishment. We have the applicant here. Come on up. Give us your name and address for the record and tell us what you want to do.
I'm Josh Matichek, speaking on behalf of Casey McCreath of 724 First Street South, Nampa, Idaho, 83651. Mr. McCreath is trying to develop a pub-like atmosphere where multiple people from different cultures, backgrounds can come in and experience a nice relaxing place to play billiards, air hockey, have a drink of either beer or wine, and be able to have that in a nice, comfortable place, but also experience a Renaissance theme. And that's what he's trying to develop. He wants to be the first individual to be able to bring that to Idaho, and he wants to start that in Nampa here. And be able to make it grow and have people experience different cultures of life. And he plans on adjusting the themes throughout the months in order to develop that.
Excuse me, at the beginning you said she, then you just said he.
Oh, sorry. I'm a little nervous speaking in front of all you. I'm sorry. He, yeah. Casey is trying to develop all that.
Okay.
You could go ahead.
It said at one point that there was somebody living in a travel trailer on the property, according to code enforcement. Is there anybody living on the property now?
Not the 724 First Street. There was, I think, a camper park there.
Yeah.
Not really sure if anybody's living in it.
Well, according to
It's
code
a
enforcement, somebody was living in it.
Yeah.
They must have stopped and talked to them.
Okay, I'm not sure on that. If they are, must be recent because the 724 it's like a U-shaped building.
Yeah.
They
nice
have
building.
storage lockers in half the area, and yeah, there we go. They have the storage lockers along that side in the L shape, and then where it says Habibi Hookah Bar, that's what Casey currently is owner of, and he's transitioning over into that. He purchased that from Saif Afumamaji,
Yeah.
and he's trying to develop a new setting, and he wants to eventually improve the foundation of it.
Okay. So just in case it comes up, they can't do that.
They can't be there?
They can't live on the property in a travel trailer.
Oh, okay. So the camper trailer is, even though it's on the storage area, it's connected with that portion of the building that isn't connected?
You understand what he just said?
I'm sorry.
I think
Well,
he's
no, there's
asking-
the storage locker unit, and then there's the main building, which is it's not part of that U shape.
There's nobody living on the property in a travel trailer or otherwise.
As far as my recollection, no.
That satisfy you guys?
It's, I think what he's saying is it's on the property, but it's not the space that
That we're,
they're going to occupy.
that we're occupying.
So then it doesn't matter.
It's on the property.
But you said it wasn't on the property.
It's not on his part of the property.
Part of the property is
Correct.
it on?
So it'd be on the owner to get with code enforcement, the owner of the property and get with code enforcement and tell the camper he's gotta go. So this just came up because they searched the property and they had a code violation, right? I would presume, so. So Casey's a tenant in the building, correct?
Yes.
He's renting the space.
He rents from L1 Commercial Northwest.
So it's kind of a gray area, right? Do we condition this project on the fact that their owner has a code violation against them? I don't know if that's fair, but we could talk about it.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, a condition is recommended that they resolve any code compliance issues prior to the occupancy of the building.
Okay.
So they'll need to work with code compliance on that. What that resolution looks like, it's a little unclear, but they would have to work out that with code compliance.
So since it's a condition on the application, talk to your landlord and say, get the camper off the property because it's a problem for
Okay,
city.
so, man, I don't know. We don't have the owner's number. We only have the L1 Commercial and their touch and go for communicating with us.
Is there a property manager?
That's the property manager that works for L1 Commercial that we try to get a hold of.
We should send them a letter. They have a letter, I'm sure, that says they're in violation of
That is the
code.
property owner.
Yeah.
Unless I'm really mistaken, it's the landlord's responsibility to provide the tenant with a free and clear property. So they're in violation of the lease that they are in agreement to. So that would give them opportunity to go somewhere else if they so choose to do so.
I think we're wading in a little bit into some legal details that we don't necessarily need to consider, but the condition is in the CUP. They comply with code compliance or they don't get to move forward.
So our condition is based off of the owners of the property removing that individual And how long do we have to get that? Because Casey has spent, I think, $25,000 on renovations on the inside of the current property, and we didn't even know somebody was living there.
I think you need to get with code compliance, and as fast as you comply, as fast as the owner complies with code compliance request, the sooner you can get going on the CUP and move
And-
forward from there.
And you guys stated that you guys have already sent a code compliancy with the L1 commercial? Did I hear that correctly?
Well, I don't know, it was with them.
They send an-
Madam Chair and Commissioners, there is an open case with code compliance, so they're working with the owner, I would assume.
And that's all we can go from.
All right, do we have to reapply then? So as soon as that individual is good, they will contact you and,
Code compliance will.
yeah, code compliance. Is there a number or way of getting a hold of them so that we can get the ball rolling?
We'll get with you and provide all that information in the letter that's sent.
So assuming we approve the CUP, it'll just have a condition on it that says code compliance needs to be okay with the situation before the CUP takes effect. So you have a 15-day appeal period after the CUP is approved
Okay.
before you can do anything. And then, that's kind of your time frame.
Madam
there's
Chair
any
and Commissioner,
renovations, you have
the
to-
condition is that they resolve the situation with code compliance prior to occupancy, so
Oh, okay.
before we approve the occupancy permit, they will need to have it resolved.
Yeah.
Do you have tenant improvements going on right now, or?
It's basically just getting a hold of the property owners through property management, but
But no, like, renovations to the building inside or anything
no,
like that?
we've already completed them all. He spent, like I said, he spent over $20,000, new paint job.
So you're, like, ready
new
to open?
bathrooms. Yeah, we're ready to go. And that's the thing is, if we don't have this, then he loses out on all that money because he won't have the money for the rent. So, okay. Try to get a hold of them to get them under compliance. I appreciate you guys' time.
Well, we still have to just to vote on it and, so don't go anywhere.
Oh, I'm not running away. I'd like to hear it all.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, the action requested is CUP for alcohol sales establishment. The surrounding land uses, it's a paved parking lot to the north. There's an office to the south, a fuel station to the west, kind of a mix of industrial and office uses in the area. History of the property, October 2003, a CUP was approved for a tavern. This was the previously known as the Monkey Bar, from what I know. Then it was a CUP was approved in 2019 for a hookah bar. They have since left the property. Street views. As far as a alcohol sales establishment, if a premise sells more than 40% of their gross receipts in liquor, beer, wine sales, then it's deemed a alcohol sales establishment. There's not really any, in this case, it obviously more than that. It requires a conditional use permit in the DV zone, which it's in. As far as alcohol sales, this is from Title V, Nampa City Code. They're required to have a license, which is approved by City Council. And along with that, they review it, they police it, they add different conditions to it, perhaps. They are looked at from many different angles with the alcohol license. The conclusions of law needs to be compatible with the abutting properties. Needs to enhance the successful operation of the area The correspondence, they need to get a building permit, which would be an occupancy permit. The code compliance, again, we've talked about that, so I won't go into that any further, but they will have to work with code compliance to resolve that prior to issuance of an occupancy permit. And generally, code compliance establishes a somewhat of a timeline to work through that. So they would have to work with code compliance on that timeline as well. Fire department commenting on occupancy permit as well. The area is partially downtown and industrial in the comp plan. Again, surrounded by an office is industrial. On the opposite corner is the public safety building. So they'll have some policing from that side, so you would say. The commission would need to determine whether the use would have a negative impact and then add any mitigating conditions if so deemed. The recommended conditions are in the staff report. The conditional use permit is only would only be granted to this operator and this business. So once they leave the property, a new bar, alcohol establishment would have to get a new CUP. Recommended, the potential findings are in the staff report. Potential motion is there for you, and I will stand for any questions.
Hey, Parker, this is Jeff. Could you go back to the correspondence real quick, that slide?
Yes.
So Nampa, so the property is, code compliance is recommending the CUP not be, okay. I'm sorry, I was thinking that recommendation was coming from planning and zoning staff, but that's coming from code compliance.
Correct.
Okay. And I wish there was a way that you guys, whoever's developing or putting that business in, throw a bush or a tree or a little bit of greenery out in front, kind of spruce that place up a little bit. I know we can't put that in the conditions, but it's a hope and a wish.
Well, it would certainly improve the property. I mean, it's been an eyesore for many years.
So hypothetical, if the owner didn't do anything about the camper situation, is there a way that the occupant could get a hold of police or somebody to help remove the person since they're illegally living there? No?
Not without the property owner's support.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, we'll go to public hearing. I have the applicant on the sign-up sheet as 4, which is good, that you're for your proposal. Is there anybody else here that would like to speak for, against, or undecided?
Make a motion that we close the public hearing?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Well, it would be nice if they could spiff up the place a little bit because it is kind of a bare bones establishment and it has a bad reputation, having used to work across the street from it. This is going to be a huge improvement, I think. I'm certainly in favor of it.
I agree.
Madam Chair, I'll go ahead and move to approve the conditional use permit for alcohol sales establishment, primary use, addressed at 724 First Street South, in the Downtown Village zoning district for Valhalla Pub. Casey McCreath is the applicant with recommended conditions and to adopt the potential findings and approval listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the conditional use permit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Conditional use permits approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission will become effective 15 calendar days from the date of this hearing unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken by the applicant on a CUP until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with planning and zoning staff there have been no appeals. And you have to comply with the code compliance issue, so. We like that.
Nice planner, though.
Thank you. Okay, our final item of the evening is rezone to RML for 1112 Southside Boulevard. We have the applicant here. Come on up and give us your name and address and tell us what you want to do.
Good evening. So my name is Rodolfo Benitez. With my address is 1112 Southside Boulevard. So I am requesting the annexation to my house because we are having problems with our septic tank. So we would like to connect a line to the city sewer. So that's why I am requesting that.
Okay, thank you. We'll hear from staff, and if we have any questions, we'll call you back up.
All right.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, Rodney Ashby, Planning and Zoning Director. This is an annexation and zoning to RML at 1112 Southside Boulevard. And as you can see there, on the comp plan, this is shown as commercial, but it's also right next to, as you can see, the medium density residential across the street and the high density residential to the south and to the east. You can see the zones in this picture here. The RML zone is to the south and to the east. That's consistent with what they are requesting. A little closer view there, and they are able to stretch that comp plan designation to this property for high density. So what I thought I'd do is just highlight the findings, what you have to find in order to approve this project. These are pretty simple because of it being a sewer connection and them requesting something that's consistent with the comprehensive plan. But I've outlined all of those findings in the staff report. I'm happy to go over them in detail, but essentially it complies with the comp plan, it meets the zoning, it's contiguous. Really not a lot to say beyond that. So unless you have any questions about that, I can highlight those. The comments I've received from the building department are the typical Title IV compliance, and then your typical comments from engineering as well, with the condition that they dedicate the right-of-way on Southside Boulevard, which is 15 feet from the existing right-of-way line. These are the recommended conditions of approval, including that a dedication of right-of-way. And here are the motions for your consideration.
Okay, we'll go to public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this? I need a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
They are aware of the 15-foot dedication, right?
It's in a letter stated to them from the engineering department that they have to connect it, or they have to dedicate the right-of-way. So I presume that they are. However, if you want to ask them, you're gonna have to open up the public hearing again.
No. Okay.
They are aware of that.
I just know sometimes they aren't aware of it, so.
Madam Chair, I got to get my name in the minutes, so I move to approve the annexation and zoning to RML zoning district of 1112 Southside Boulevard for Rodolfo Benitez with the recommended conditions and potential findings listed in the staff report.
I'll second the motion, but I
Okay.
will say you're supposed to wait like 6 months before you make a motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the annexation and zoning. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Joking.
Okay, that's
He just wants to make sure he gets
Thank
paid,
you.
that's all.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, that's a pretty aggressive step, make a motion your first.
And that concludes our
I waited
meeting
till
for